Hi, this is Joy Robertson. As many of you know, I love food. I love finding new restaurants. I love trying new dishes. And most of all, I love talking to the many great restaurateurs and entrepreneurs we have here in the Ozarks and beyond. I love hearing their stories, and that's what this podcast is all about, learning more about them and their journey. So join me as we savor the Ozarks. I am sitting in a Springfield restaurant right now where it feels like truly everybody knows your name, but that could be because a lot of people in our listening audience have their name on your menu. Pat Duran and Metropolitan Grill. How long have you been here? This is a great spot.
I've owned the company since 2005. I worked for the company since 2001, so I've been here for a minute or two now.
You've been here for a minute or two in the restaurant business, but you don't come from Southwest Missouri. Give me a little bit of your background.
I'm originally from Santa Fe, New Mexico. That's where I was born and raised. From there, I joined the military, and I was in the Army for a period of 5 years. And then I used my GI Bill and college fund to go to culinary school. And then my parents retired here from northern New Mexico in 1989. And the curse of Springfield is if you visit enough times, you'll move. And in 2001, I did.
Okay, you answered all the questions that I had follow-ups for because I thought, okay, so how did you wind up so interested in food and in culinary school, and then how did you wind up in Southwest Missouri? So you had family connection to that. But what was your interest in food? I'm assuming you were pretty young when your interest got started.
Yeah, for the most part, I'm the youngest of 12 children, and my mother had this gift of being able to open the refrigerator and cook for all of us all the time, and cook. By the time like I said, I was the youngest, so the most we ever had in the house was probably about half of that, but still it was a lot, and it was never just us. It was us and our friends and everybody else. So we always had a house full, and my mom always cooked, and she comes from an era when people came over to visit before texting arrived. People came over to visit. She always made a meal, and she always had stuff going on the wood stove, and she always had something going. But yeah, that's kind of how it all started. Was just enjoying watching my mom cook.
When our kids were young, I used to say it stressed me out to try to get food on the table for 4 of us at one time, with it being at least edible and somewhat warm. Your mom with 12 kids, and then maybe the neighbor kids and whoever else, she juggled a lot. She was gifted in that respect. And you saw that work very well at home. So I guess you're not afraid of feeding a lot of people.
No, not at all. The other caveat of my parents is their Depression era, so they come from a life of have to, and when you just have to feed everybody, you kind of always find a way, and that's kind of taken over my life in this aspect of this restaurant just has to work, so we make it work, Thank you, Mom and Dad.
When did you truly start to cook?
Honestly, probably later. Probably mid through my military career. I was deployed a lot, so when I was home, I would definitely cook a lot. And then once I was done with my military career, I started to go to school to be a teacher. And the place that I was going to school had a culinary program, and I was always kind of interested in it. So the more I cooked and the more I was in, I grew more and more interested. By the time I'd lost interest in becoming a teacher, I was fully committed to wanting to be a chef. So that's kind of when that started, and I kind of just, we'll say, blossomed from there.
I would say so. What did you want to teach when you thought about being a teacher?
Physical education in English. I definitely wanted to be a coach. That was my thing. I love coaching young kids, and I enjoyed it in the beginning. But the caveat of the intense parents kind of waned me away from that aspect of what I thought my dream was at that point.
Where did you go to culinary school?
Northern Michigan College.
So was it your hope at that point to take that education and open your own place? I think it probably is for most people who do culinary school.
Yeah, I was very fortunate in the very beginning. I started out working for Sara Lee, and then from there I got into restaurants. And when I got into restaurants, I found out really quick that if I was ever going to own my own restaurant someday, I needed to learn from the people in front of me. More so than culinary school, there's the business of restaurants. Making great food is easy. Making money money at making great food, that's really the trick. And so I was very fortunate to work for some really bad owners and some really great owners, because both of them had some amazing lessons to teach me, and I made sure I took notes on both.
I've always thought you can learn a lot from a bad boss. Wouldn't you agree? How not to be?
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely found out the how nots that the restaurant world had in store for me.
What did you do for Sara Lee? You're talking about Sara Lee, the cakes and the sweets and what have you.
Yeah, Sara Lee in Traverse City is the largest baking facility, I think in the world maybe, but definitely in the United States. I had an account. I had a couple of different accounts, a lot of research and development stuff, and then I was responsible for production on a lot of different pies and sweets and things of that nature. It was amazing to watch pies being made, at 110 a minute, and pastries being made at 200 a minute, and things of that nature. It was definitely to see the volume and just the base of that was incredible. But what it didn't allow me for was my creativity. All those things were kind of put in place before me just to produce. What was yearning inside me was the ability to create the same way my mom did when she opened the refrigerator.
So when you got the chance here at Metropolitan Grill, were you just brimming with those ideas in terms of menu items? What's important to you? I'm sure good ingredients, but what were you thinking when you started to think, I got to come up with a menu or enhance the menu, things like that?
Well, my history at Metropolitan Grill is a little bit different than that. I started out as the bar manager here, and nobody knew I was a chef. And I had moved here to kind of help my parents out and to kind of get my life straight. And, the blessings of Springfield fell on me, and I landed up here, started out at Galloway Station, ended up being the GM there, and from there I was recruited to come into Metropolitan Grill, So I was a bartender bar manager here for about 2 years before it was probably about a year before they figured out that I knew how to cook. And then I slowly integrated my culinary skill into the restaurant to the point of in early 2005, the previous owner, Fred Coco, reached out to me and asked me if I had any interest in buying the restaurant because he was moving to Oregon.
It's been a while since I've thought about your history. That's starting to ring a bell with me that you were here before you actually took it over. But at that point, you're the bar manager. You see this place is doing well, and you see that people like it, and you see that there are a lot of customers, and you probably also see that there are things you might do different. So was it a big, of course it's a big decision to buy a business, but was it a hard decision to buy it?
No, it was just trying to, figure out how a bar manager from some hardworking, meager means was going to come up with the money. And I was very fortunate to be surrounded by some amazing people that helped give me that opportunity. So when I bought the place, my first and foremost thing was to change nothing. I put some paint up on the walls, and that was really all about it. It's all I could really afford to do was to change the paint. And so we put some paint in and changed a few things. But in the beginning, I really didn't change much. Change is really hard on a restaurant, especially its customer base when somebody comes in and changes everything. So my changes were very slow. It really didn't become mine for probably about 2 to 3 years through minute menu changes. I believe in changing the menu a lot. I get really bored making the same stuff. That movie Groundhog Day is not the culinary world I'm trying to live in. Slowly but surely, we had the menu adjusted. After about 3 years, it was truly probably 90% my menu. Still making a lot of Fred stuff. We don't fake scratch cooking here, so Fred has about probably 80 menu items from when he owned it, and we still make the majority of them if asked. And I've had over 450 menu items on various menus that we still can make to this day. How
do you describe the type of food at Metropolitan Grill?
It's an eclectic passion of the culinary world. It's the most intimate form of art there is out there because you ingest it, and my job is to paint a different canvas every day, and so it's pretty eclectic. We definitely do. It's the Midwest, so steak wins. We're in the backyard of some of the best beef in the entire world, and so we feature a lot of great beef cuts that come from our local cattle ranchers. as well as we do the best we can with our seafood. We're a little landlocked here in the center of the United States, so we feature 3 to 5 seafood dishes, maybe a couple freshwater fishes that are available to us, and then there's a little bit of pasta and a little bit of some other things, some pork and some lamb. But every time it's got a different twist on it. We have this motto here called "Create, not copy." So the rule my kitchen manager and I have when we sit down to do a menu is we can only bring in a yellow notebook pad with us, no phones, no internet, no anything, and we have to just sit there and come up with a menu. And the golden rule is if we've made it before or seen it before, we can't make it again. So that's kind of the fun part about what we do.
So if you've seen it before, you've had it before, you could make, are you saying you could make your own version of it, but you don't want to do it again? Because I'm assuming if you did something that people loved, you would do that again.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But as far as new menu items, we want to be inspired by the customers that we name everything after. And we want to give them an original dish that shows how we showcase them and their relationship to the restaurant. So we really don't want to make something that we saw at another restaurant when I was maybe in Arizona or maybe in Las Vegas or New York or somewhere like that. I might be inspired by that dish, but I definitely don't want to recreate the dish. I want it to be an original. It's named after somebody who is original, so I want the dish to be an original.
How did the naming come about? Was that you, or did that come before you took over?
That came actually before me. Kind of, the idea spawned from Fred. He had probably a handful of dishes, probably 3 to 5 dishes. He had named primarily after his family, his brothers and such, and his mother. But then he had, I think there was 2 or 3 names. The chicken a la Lipscomb and the steak with John sauce. Those were local customers. And so when I took it over, I really loved that idea of making it about the community and the community that supported the restaurant. So I went ahead and took the entire menu and started naming it after customers.
I always think of the Walt Gasca.
Yeah, the original Gasca. That's I don't know how PG I need to be on this, but everybody knows Walt Gasca is an amazing plastic surgeon here in the Ozarks, and he had one specialty. And one day he came in and he said him and Martha came in and they said, "Hey Pat, make me something." And I said, "Dr. Gasca, what would you like?" He goes, "I don't know, just make me something." And so when I originally made the Gasca, I made it on a plate in kind of in breast augmentation inspired, 2 puff pastries to kind of mimic that, and topped it with the toppings that we put on it and stuff. So like I said, the dishes are truly inspired by the people that I cook for.
Hey, it is Ryan Seacrest. There's something so thrilling about playing Chumba Casino. Maybe it's the simple reminder that with a little luck, anything is possible. ChumbaCasino.com has hundreds of social casino-style games to choose from with new game releases each week. Play for free anytime, anywhere, for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Do you ever have to take a dish off the menu that is inspired by someone you know, and they call you up and they go, "Hey, what the heck? Did I make you mad? What's going on?" Yeah,
no, that's kind of the double-edged sword of when you change your menu so often, and you have so many customers. It's funny when we have these very well accomplished physicians in the area, and they get so excited when their name comes on the menu, and it's almost a little competition of between doctors of I'm on, you're not on, or your dish got taken off, I took over for you, different things like that. So, it's the glory of you're on the menu, and then there's the demise of you came off the menu. But like I said, we still make them, so we don't fake scratch cooking once again. I mean, if you come in here and ask for a dish that we made 6 years ago, there's a good possibility we'll make it. And if you want to give us a call ahead of time and say you want that dish, I'll run out to the store and get the stuff I need so that I can make it. So you do kind of live forever on in the restaurant, but maybe not on the current menu.
Was the flash fried spinach your thing?
No, that actually came from the Hill in St. Louis. Fred brought that from the Hill in St. Louis. That's a very prominent dish that you see made throughout the Hill, the Italian district of St. Louis, known as the Hill. I had seen it in my previous, culinary escapades with like flash fried basil and things like that to put on fish and things of that nature, but I'd never seen flash fried spinach before. But so yeah, it's kind of a mainstay. It's amazing how much we go through. It's almost awe. It's crazy how much.
I was going to ask you that because I have never tried to make it, because why would I? You do it so well. But spinach, when you cook it down a little bit, it starts real big and then it kind of shrinks down. So I think about how, do you have a whole truck full of just fresh spinach that shows up here every single day? We
do. We go through about, probably 16 to 20 cases of spinach a week. And it's fun. And there's a lot of, we love taking customers back to show them how we make flash fried spinach. A lot of times they'll be like, how do you make it? So we just take them back in the kitchen and we show them exactly how we make it. It's actually not very hard. It's all about timing. The whole process takes under a minute, and it's all about timing, and it's all about the preparation of the ingredients, the type of spinach we have to use, and then we consult with them to tell them how they can make it at home.
Really?
Yeah, we do it all the time. I almost probably do it daily, take somebody back and show them how to make flash fried spinach.
Do you literally throw it in a fryer?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
It goes in a fryer, and because we go through so much, Dan, you have to be able to control the temperature, because that's the most key part of flash fried spinach, is controlling the temperature of the oil. So it has to go into a deep fryer to be able to do that.
So you come from a large family, but you also have a good-sized family of your own. I think you told me you have 6 kids. Some of them are involved in the business.
Mm-hmm. I guess I was only half as inspired as my parents, because So I do have 6 children. I want to say currently, but then that means that maybe I'm having more. But I don't think that's in my future. But
no breaking news today. Right, is what you're saying.
No breaking news today. Yeah. So of my 6 children, 4 of them do work here at the restaurant. I have 3 chefs, and then my oldest daughter works as in my management team as my banquet coordinator.
Okay, and you've fairly recently added this new wood-fired pizza to your menu? Yeah,
so we had, on one part of the restaurant, I've had one area that we've kind of always tried to reinvent into something that keeps me, I guess, my mind active and keeps things fresh. I'm culinary ADD for sure, and that I feel like I always got to be challenging myself. And we started out as a 100-person banquet room, and then from there we turned it into a diner, a breakfast brunch place, and then from there we turned it into a barbecue place. And it's kind of all inspired by kind of what I've got going on in my life at that time. And after the pandemic, barbecue became really expensive to produce, and it stopped being fun for me. And that's always been my fun space where I've done my fun projects. Making breakfast for me is a blast. I love to cook breakfast, so I did that just first and foremost, and then it kind of stopped being fun when I couldn't staff it anymore. And then so we shut it down and we opened up a barbecue place, because at the time we were doing competition barbecue, and I was enjoying the whole culture of barbecue, and so we opened Hard Knocks Barbecue over there, and we did a great job with it. But after the pandemic, with the inflation, barbecue became really expensive, and it was never really meant to be that. It was supposed to be affordable for everybody. And brisket was $1.79 when I opened the place, and when I closed it, it was over $7 a pound. So the look on people's face when you told them their barbecue dish was $26 just became a weight on my soul that made me feel bad. So we went ahead and stopped doing that. And so it just kind of sat over there. And my sister had my wife has a sister who lives in New Zealand, and we were over there visiting her. And my wife and I were on a date night on one of those nights that we were there. And we went into this place that had a wood-fired pizza, and my wife loves champagne, so she was drinking a bottle of Veuve Clicquot champagne. And I looked at her and I said, just making small talk, what should we do with that barbecue space we have? And she said, let's do this. I want to do this. So when we got back, I did a lot of research, found a New York company that provided pizza ovens from Italy, and we purchased a pizza oven, and they got started on remodeling the room, and then that's how we came about to have Sherry's Place Pizza and Champagne Lounge, and it was a blast. And then in turn, I sent my daughter, who's a chef, I sent her to Staten Island to go to New York pizza school, and just to elevate the pizza that we are already doing, because pizza is a culture in New York. It's a way of life, kind of like the way beef is here. And I wanted her to be engulfed, and we're always kind of learning, and I wanted to learn for what I thought was the best here in the United States. Short of sending her to Italy, the next best thing is definitely New York City. So we sent her to New York City to pizza school, and she came back with this most amazing pizza that we produce now, and a pretty bad attitude. So I think New York had all the effect on it that it needed to.
It sounds like it worked. What do you cook at home?
Yes.
You like to cook breakfast, obviously, but do you cook a lot at home?
Yeah, I love to cook at home. I mean, I kind of cook all the time. It's kind of, I really enjoy doing it. And as my wife says, it's just so much easier because I can get it done so much faster. But I do enjoy cooking at home when I can. You know, a lot of times I don't get home till pretty late. You know, I'll get home somewhere between 9 and 11, but still we'll sometimes make dinner and eat that late.
What's your favorite kind of food?
Everything. I really don't have a favorite kind of food. I honestly don't eat a lot of red meat anymore. I'm a kid in a candy store, and I can have whatever I want whenever I want it. And I fabricate / butcher meat every single day. So for me, beef has kind of lost a little bit of its luster. So me personally, the way I cook for myself is I eat a lot of pork dishes, I eat a lot of chicken dishes, fresh fish dishes, and actually a lot of vegan dishes is kind of what I eat. So my favorite things aren't the things that normally people would gravitate to on a menu. So that's kind of on my menu. I always represent those things. We represent food allergies, diet restrictions throughout the menu. So those end up kind of being my favorite things on the menu because they're the most original and most unique normally.
Ah, very good. Well, I know, I mean, as someone who cooks as well as you and is as creative as you, there must be some really good eating going on at home and, of course, at the restaurant. Where do you, I mean, we have a really vibrant area here in the Ozarks, I think, with a lot of creativity in terms of the food that we see. You are front and center in that creativity, in my opinion. I mean, just it's a mouth-watering sort of menu, and you do these specials that are fantastic. Where do you like to eat when you go out?
Oh my God, Springfield is so blessed. We live in such an amazing community of food. You know, I'm pretty well traveled throughout both my military and culinary career, and I say it every time I go out and come home that we are so fortunate here in the Ozarks to have so many great restaurants surrounded by us that are mostly independently owned, and so man. So many places. I don't, you know, definitely what we call our brotherhood of restaurants that where we are very much active friends in. You know, there's Nicola's, there's Avanzari, there's Char, there's Flame, you know, there's Ocean Zen, you know, there's so many Retro Metro, of course, which used to be mine, which is now Chef Tiny's, and you know, and then after that, there's just so many more. You know, and I've had so many employees that have opened restaurants since they've been here. You know, Split Kitchen's one that comes to mind. Yeah. Kristen does an amazing job. You know, so there, honestly, you'd have to do a whole segment on all the places I go out to eat and love and enjoy here in the Ozarks.
Kristen was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, she is an adventure, that one. She's an experience.
Yes, yeah. She is. And that's it. You know, Kristen represents probably, I think, the biggest caveat of what we do in the restaurant industry. Cooking great food is the easiest thing we do. Everybody makes great food. You know, what we ultimately sell at a restaurant is an energy. And, you know, the details of that energy is what keeps people coming back. I call it the memory stain. And Kristen is one of my best memory stains, for sure. She's full of energy and she's vibrant, and you can never forget that you met her or saw her or were a part of her restaurant. And that's the same thing we've tried to do here, is to create an energy that makes you remember the place. Because the number one reason people don't come back to your restaurant is not a bad experience. It's because there was just nothing special. They don't remember you. And so we challenge our staff every day to make a memory for everybody that walks in here. I don't care if they remember the name of the place as Metropolitan Grill. I want them to remember them just as much as any other part of the restaurant.
Okay, you're bringing me around to the thing I was going to ask very last, which is, it sounds to me like maybe you have become the coach you always wanted to be.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, we'll say inspiring. Maybe I don't know if it's a coach. I don't know if it's any of those things. I just love those are truly my legacy trophies. Is watching the people that leave here, no matter what they do, move on to bigger and better things because of the time they spent here. Maybe just a little bit of it settled in and helped create the success they have now.
Anything new coming up in the future?
New coming up. We're coming up on our 30th anniversary in November. I've teamed up with Chef Tiny, and we created a High West bourbon batch. We call it the Brothers Batch. It's a Chardonnay cask, and we'll release that on our anniversary, which will be in probably, I think, around the last week in November. It'll probably coincide with Wild Turkey Wednesday, which is our biggest party of the year here at Metropolitan Grill. It's like the biggest family reunion you can imagine, and then add a little bit of bourbon and tequila, and then it's really the best family reunion you can imagine. So that 30th anniversary celebration will be pretty special. Not very many restaurants get to tout that they've been in the community for 30 years and thrived throughout those 30 years. And I've definitely been blessed to be able to be a part of one.
Well, congratulations to you, Pat Duran and Metropolitan Grill and all the staff here for what you do. And, we were talking before we started this podcast that the one thing we all have in common is that we get to eat every single day. And it's so much fun to get together with people we love and care about and enjoy a good meal. So keep on keeping on.
Thank you so much.